as physical, mental, spiritual. Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis.
Welcome to another episode of Zealous Wellness with your host, myself, Mike Hollis. Just want to touch base with, we had a holiday weekend last weekend, of course, Memorial Day. And so thank you for all that have served and sacrificed for our nation. Clearly understand that that's an important day for us because of our freedom and so forth. But, definitely it's been kind of a different week because of the long weekend last weekend and, the week. And I had a couple coaching sessions, so it kind of threw me off like 2-day private camps. So I was out there for 5 hours each day, which is a little bit different than I normally do. Usually it's a little sporadic, but it's being out there for 5 hours straight with one kid, 2 days in a row is a little challenging. So my sleep patterns are a little bit off. So definitely been kind of trying to get my things back in order and do my thing. And there's always change. There's always change in schedules, and things happen, things come up, and you always have to improvise. And one thing that I want to talk about today is the fact of our procrastination. It's a very it's a negative word in a sense, because if you're one of these, and again, I'm a victim. I was just telling Jason prior to the show, is like today's kind of one of those procrastination days. I think the older I get, maybe I feel a little bit more entitled to some chill or hangout time. But you got a lot of things to do, and the more you procrastinate, the more that the bigger that list becomes of the the honeydews, the things we have not gotten done yet. So we definitely want to make sure that we're staying on top of those things. And of course, because I'm one of those too that I'll commit to a lot of things, and these times and all these things start to kind of come from to fruition. Like, okay, well, now this commitment I made a month ago is now happening, and I forgot I had this one too. And so you commit to a lot, but then you can't procrastinate at that point. You have to just go for it. And once you make that commitment, of course, we talked about commitment in previous episodes, but you definitely want that commitment. Once that commitment's made and the passion's there, man, it's just full speed ahead, right? So again, having that procrastination could be a lack of passion. I mean, I think if you're passionate about something, you really wouldn't have a reason to procrastinate, because you want to get the work done. You want to, it's something's very intriguing to you. You stick with it, and you don't have it, really give yourself a chance to procrastinate. But there are a lot of things in life we all procrastinate. And I hadn't been to the grocery store in a long time, and I went yesterday for the first time. But it's once I procrastinated to do it, but clearly I need to eat some food and my fridge was empty. So I'm like, okay, I got to go get some chicken for the dog, and some other stuff too. So I definitely, I felt better. I got out of the house and I went to the grocery store. You'd think that's kind of a silly story, but I just wasn't feeling it yesterday. I just didn't want to go anywhere. And so I finally made myself do it. But that's the thing with procrastination is you definitely want to make sure that you're not going to miss out on anything, because the longer you procrastinate, more things can develop, and your mind may change as well. So we're going to talk about that and a lot of other stuff after we take a quick break and a word from our sponsor. But we will be right back to touch upon more about procrastination.
At 3, we want to give you the true health benefits that you're paying for, something you can feel and see a difference quickly. Each product is packed with powerful plant-based nutrients that are combined through a proprietary curation process and then infused with innovative cellular absorption technologies to ensure the nutrients absorb into the cells for maximum wellness. The quality and effectiveness of our life-changing products is evident by their approval to be included in the well-known Prescriber's Digital Reference, or PDR. PDR has been a valuable resource to the medical doctors and providers in the healthcare community for decades. Our products are GMO-free, clinically studied, and third-party tested, all designed to support health and proactive wellness for everyone.
And watching, some of the information on the on our sponsor that they provided, with the regards to the supplements and being proactive about your health, and you think about like how many times we procrastinated on a diet or maybe a new supplement routine. All right, we're going to try this. All right, we're going to stick with it. And one thing is it comes with commitment too. I keep bringing that word up as well. But when you think about the procrastinating, especially with the diet thing, people wait. Maybe in October they're like, yeah, I'm putting on some weight. Right around the time I tend to put on some pounds during that time because of it starts with Halloween, then it's in Thanksgiving, and it's just nonstop 3 or 4 months of just nothing but eating. So definitely want to control that intake as far as portion control, but also you think about your diet. You're like, okay, I'm gonna procrastinate until the beginning of the year and make my New Year's resolution. I'm gonna start this new diet January 1st. So you procrastinate until then, which means you don't do anything about the diet. You don't do anything about what you're not preparing for. You're probably eating even worse because you're going to lose all the good food because you made a commitment, what you thought was a commitment. But so you procrastinate, during that time. But I'm telling you that, that what happens if you had a health issue that came up during that period of time that you were waiting to start your new diet, and had you started your new diet, maybe you wouldn't have had that issue come up. So, I've always talked about this every episode. I always, pretty much mention, like, you never know type of thing. Like we all never know. We really don't know what the future holds for us. We don't know what can happen. Again, I've always talked about decision makings. We're making millions of decisions on a daily basis. And one wrong decision could, one bad, that could affect something, major in your life. It could be a big deal. So, obviously a lot of the majority of the decisions we're making in a daily, everyday life they're very, not very important. Of course, they're kind of secondary to some of the major decisions. But again, overall, the accumulation of all these decisions we make is kind of expressing our day and what our day is like. And so you definitely don't want to, procrastinate in a sense. And I tell you, don't want to do it, even though I did it today. I procrastinated. So I just don't, I think that, the more you procrastinate, the more you miss out on, a learning opportunity. Of course, if there's something you're trying to get better at and grow as you're in your profession, you won't ever do that. What if, you go that whole what if thing, but you'll never do that if you procrastinate, if you don't get, studying and doing whatever you're required to do to increase your knowledge in whatever area of expertise that might be. You'll never learn unless you, go do it. And Tim Tebow's always talking about, and even him and also Tom Brady. They're always like, screw your feelings. You can't listen to your feelings. It's just how bad do you want it, kind of thing. And some things require obviously physical workouts and things like that, and physical use. But that's another story. That's a whole other side of it, because that's another thing that you could definitely procrastinate on your fitness as well. And I've done that too. I've talked about this too in previous episodes, that you go into that mindset where you that yo-yo effect where you're like, I don't want to do it. You just get in that mindset where you're getting down on yourself, and it's kind of like a revolving. It's sort of like a domino effect. Once you start feeling bad about yourself, and you get depressed, then you get heavier, and then you feel worse about yourself because of all that. So again, procrastination, if you catch it and you nip it in the butt and don't give it a chance to happen, yes, there are times when it's needed or whatever, but the case may be. But you don't want to really get yourself in a situation where you actually regret not getting up and doing what it is you're going to do. I found a lot of satisfaction in days where I've got a lot of stuff to do, even though I wasn't really that excited about doing them, but I told myself I was going to do them. At the end of the day, when I got most or maybe all of those items scratched off my list, I feel really good about myself. I feel like I've accomplished something. So it's like that with anything in life. And you think about kids, when you're raising kids, it's easy for kids to procrastinate because they've got the parents that sometimes fill in for them. Take the garbage out, little Johnny. Well, little Johnny's procrastinating. He doesn't want to because he thinks maybe if he does, long enough, mom or dad will take the trash out for him. But that's the thing, is you got to learn at an early age. You can't, procrastination sometimes, lets one believe that whatever it will, that they need to get done will magically be done for them or something. Maybe if they procrastinate long enough, something different will happen, and they maybe won't have to do it at that point. So yeah, definitely. But again, if you do that, you give yourself an opportunity not to learn from the opportunity that you're basically missing out on because you procrastinated. And definitely it's something that, in a business sense or something that's time sensitive, clearly you need to do it. But that's all in the passion, what you hold. I was revert back to me kicking football. I was very, very passionate about it. So I didn't have any times or setbacks or anything like that where I could think I procrastinated about something. Yeah, maybe working out. When I was younger, I was getting sore and tired and I just didn't want to go. And so there were days, clearly, I probably procrastinated and delayed my workout if I did the workout at all anyways. It is easy to quit. It really is. And it's easy to procrastinate. It really, really is. I'm clearly a victim of that as well. And sometimes I need a fresh reminder, like, hey, I got to wake up and get this thing done because I had a plan. That's the other thing too, is like you kind of have to have an idea of what it is you want to do down the road, because that gives you the idea, the opportunity really to procrastinate, because if it's a project or something you're doing down the road, you can procrastinate. Clearly that's not why I want you to think about what you're doing down the road, but it's more of a plan. If you're going to commit to a plan, you can't procrastinate, especially if there's things that are time sensitive. You have to really make sure that you're not going to cut corners and take it the easy way. Again, I always revert back to that whole concept of an opportunity to learn. We learn in everything we do in life. If you're not putting the effort out into learning things, or if you're procrastinating on things that need to be done later on that you will learn in the process of, you're doing yourself an injustice, because you're not giving yourself a chance to, kind of settle down and learn something new. And that's what life's all about. And, we talk about how short life is. It's very short. I just turned 53 last week, a couple weeks ago, I guess is now. See, I'm already losing track of time. But I can't believe that I'm 53 years old. I never in my mind thought, not to say that I wasn't going to live this long, but just I couldn't imagine myself at 53. Well, here I am. I'm thankful for the times I've taken to work out and be conscious about my food, my diet, which still isn't that great, but I'm conscious about what my lifting and my fitness. I definitely want to make sure I'm maintaining that as well. So, but again, that's easy to procrastinate. The more, and again, the more you do things, the more maybe, I don't want to say they get a little bit repetitious. Maybe you might get a little complacent with it, but that could be another grounds for procrastination as well. But you've got to catch it before we realize what's going on here as far as the procrastination. You got to make sure we're taking advantage of every opportunity we have to learn and grow and make things better. So really, there's really no magic pill. I mean, I brought that word up today because I just caught myself thinking to myself, man, I'm really procrastinating today, and I need to kind of vent a little bit. And I'm glad I'm not perfect. I'm just sharing real life experiences and stuff that kind of makes me who I am today. And I definitely need to work on things for sure. So that's another opportunity for me to to think about what it is I need to be doing. And again, it's challenging at times. Life can throw you curveballs. Definitely, there's periods of time. Summer's coming up. We got some trips planned, and I need to kind of get some funds in there to kind of cover some other things and expenses. There's things that I got to do to get my butt in shape. And so clearly, as far as procrastinating, that's not really an option. We got to do what we got to do. And so some people don't have options to procrastinate, and I think that kind of makes more of a reputable business type of person. I mean, it's, you think about the people that are usually the ones that respond the quickest through and I've noticed this personally, are the ones that, my friends who I text message, the people that respond the quickest are usually the more successful and busy people. So they don't have much time, but they respond back. And so I kind of think of that, then they're not procrastinating. That's where I'm going with this, is they're not procrastinating. Yeah. And again, I say this because I'm a victim of it as well. I get a text message and I think, yeah, I got some other things I want to do real quick, but I'm definitely going to come back to that message and respond. Or maybe I'll notice that I remember the next day, I say, yeah, I'm going to get back to you, I promise. Yeah. And I keep forgetting about it. And so again, I don't want to be that kind of person where I'm not responding in a certain amount of time. But yeah, you do get busy, you get sidetracked and things like that. I know, like the other day when I was coaching for 10 hours, I really couldn't associate with many people at all during my day, which I'm pretty free with my schedule anyway. So I get time to chat and message people here and there. But So again, I don't really have excuses for procrastinating because I do have the time and I do have my plan and my ideas on what I'm about to do or what I want to do. So I don't have an excuse for procrastinating, but sometimes I do. And so that's my message to you is like, we're all, we're human, we're going to make mistakes, but just understand that procrastination is one of the worst things that can bring someone out of success or not even anywhere close to success. I've never seen a successful person be a very, very big procrastinator. They get things done. And again, it's, I think sometimes you get in a mindset, me specifically, personally, I'll kind of share a little bit about what my mindset is. I think that if I start, having things that I need to go back, basically putting things on the back burner, procrastinating about them, I usually forget about them. And so I'm not very good at writing things down. So I want to make sure that I want to, respond or do something right then and there when the action's asked upon, so that I don't forget. My memories, I guess maybe it's the age thing. I'm getting a little older, but sometimes I don't remember the things that I knew. I swear I was going to remember, and I don't, and I forget. So it's another good reason why not to procrastinate, because it's actually it lends a respectful hand really to your the person you're referring to. If it's somebody who's counting on you or needed a response or something, you got to do something for somebody. That's obviously not great either. If you procrastinate on that too, now you're letting that other person down. So I think it does show a lot of respect for you and also the other person when you do respond quickly, or you do, take care of what needs to be done pretty quick. I used to think as a business owner, maybe I need to, delay a little bit or day or so, because if I come back real soon, it may appear that I'm not busy. I'm kind of learning that was not necessarily the right way of thinking of it. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm responding to kickers, fathers and mothers who are calling occasionally here and there and looking for their, new kid to get some new lessons from a new coach or what the case may be. But that's, of course, I don't want to procrastinate on that. I'll lose an opportunity to share and share my knowledge and help the youth of the kickers and punters of the football, teams around here, to get them going again. Again, think about procrastination in the football field. Of course, when that's the other thing too, when you get involved in some sort of teamwork or accountability type of thing, now you're really, now you're accountable to other people. And so if you procrastinate in something that requires, your input and abilities and skills and work and time, if it requires that of you in a group setting and you procrastinate, you don't do it, now you're letting your group down. So that's a huge thing. People, a lot of times, the empathetic type of people, I'm myself included, I have more of a fear of letting others down than myself. And, you gotta put some onus on yourself too sometimes and be afraid of letting yourself down. Yes, it's, if you let others down, it's embarrassing. It's out there. Not only it, but the other person does too. But when you're letting yourself down, you're the only one that knows it. So you can kind of justify it. So, well, I'm the only one that knows it. But what if everyone knew it? What if everybody knew that you let yourself down? Maybe because, again, I don't want to lose track, but because you procrastinated, you let yourself down and didn't get the things that need to be done at a certain time, and then you lost the opportunity to succeed at whatever that was that you committed to, and you let yourself down because you didn't complete the mission. But you also let yourself down because you procrastinated, and because you procrastinated, you didn't complete the mission. So that's a huge deal with a lot of people, because procrastination can lead to a lot of stuff. You got to look at it a little bit more in depth. And you don't have to get crazy about having to do everything all the time. It sometimes bothers me. Like, I'm not sure which one I need to do. Should I do it now? Should I wait? Don't get all crazy about that. As long as you are doing things that you committed to do and not letting everybody down, and the other teammates, your friends, your colleagues, your other people, family. If you're not letting them down, if you didn't procrastinate and so forth, you're doing good things. Okay, so yeah, that's a good thing, and that's a good thing to feel good about too. I mean, I told you, if I didn't procrastinate, I got all the things done I wanted to, then that accomplishment, that sense of accomplishment feels good. And so I think that a lot of times, people, we get a little down on ourselves because of that lack of accomplishment. And it starts with the procrastination because maybe you don't have the interest in it. And, for whatever reason you started to procrastinate with it, and then the next thing you know, either the whatever it was you wanted to get done wasn't finished very well, or just wasn't finished at all. Now you kind of feel like a failure, and it all started with the procrastination. So I'm telling you, just from personal experience, playing football at the highest level, I know that gets a little redundant, but that's something that I can speak on because I've been there, I've done that, and I know what it takes. Not only to get there, but to maintain. That was a tough one too, and it has a lot to do with not procrastinating, getting things done, getting the work done when it's needed. And of course, we talked about this a couple episodes ago about your circle of friends. Who you're hanging out with. It's very easy, to procrastinate when you got a circle of friends that, or friends or influencers that are pulling you away from really, what you wanted to do. So that's another reason why. Anybody would procrastinate too. So that's something you got to watch out for. Make sure that you're, around the right people, the successful people, the like-minded people that want you to succeed, not only for themselves, but, have you succeed as well, because it makes them, happy to see others succeed. I think that those are the kind of people that I definitely want to hang around with that won't let me get complacent or procrastinate. That's the thing too, is you get people that are on your side that want success as much as you do, and they keep you accountable. That's the biggest thing. That you won't have any room to get complacent or procrastinate with your job. You've got somebody on your butt telling you to. Of course, there's different levels. You don't want to be hovered like a helicopter, and but you don't want to obviously have, you want some accountability. And I think that does make people a lot better as people in general, when they have accountability and they have people relying on them. You can't procrastinate. Again, it all revolves around, if you're doing the right things for the right people, with the right people, and doing them when they're applied upon, when they need to be done. Those are recipes for greatness. Good things happen, and it doesn't matter at what level. It doesn't matter what it is you're trying to do on a daily basis. When you accomplish it, could be something small. When you accomplish it, it's good. You accomplished it, and it makes you feel good about what you did, and and you probably learned something along the way. That's another good thing too. When you're not procrastinating, when you're actually doing things that you told yourself you're going to do, you're constantly learning. I've got an old car, and again, my old Camaro. I've kind of man, I don't drive it as much as I should. I'm kind of neglecting it. It's a car that my parents bought for me when I was 14 years old, and I still have it to this day. And I got some issues with the brakes, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to fix that first. But again, I keep procrastinating, thinking that's like another level, oh, I can wait on that. And the car's been with me for my whole life, basically. And, she's been waiting on me, to help her, help get the brakes fixed, and I haven't done that yet. So I feel bad about that, but I will get that done, and I'll get the yellow dream back out on the road again, Betty. But yeah, the car has been something that I've always liked to, reminisce on and kind of think about all the work that I put into it, and, being, back in high school and all the different colors it was. But I'm getting off track, of course. But when I was a kid, I was passionate about my car. I tell you, I didn't procrastinate on that. I washed that thing all the time. I didn't take days off where I was, the car was dirty. I'll wash it tomorrow. I'll procrastinate and do it tomorrow. No, I was washing that baby. I definitely did. But yeah, that's the thing too, is today, you get older and things become a little bit more important or less important, however you look at it. The Camaro to me kind of has become a little less important, and I feel terrible about that. But there are other priorities in my life too, and so there are things that when you get older, you understand, you're able to prioritize a little bit better and understand where you need to put your time and effort into. So I've got a little bit of that going on. So the Camaro can wait. We'll procrastinate a little bit longer, but I promise her I'll get her brakes fixed and get her on the road again. So. With that said, I think, we've covered a lot about procrastination. I said that word about 50 times tonight. So definitely just understand the bottom line is a lot of, negative things in your life can start from procrastination, and kind of learning a little bit about yourself and having opportunities to get yourself exposed to things. If you procrastinate too much on certain things that you've told yourself you're going to do, you're learning out on those opportunities. So definitely, just do yourself a favor and just get things done. You're going to feel a lot better when you get all those things accomplished. and you didn't procrastinate on them. Plus that order of importance, the priorities. I'm sure whatever it was that you got done today that you couldn't procrastinate on, I'm sure it turned out to be a great thing, and you're happy you did it. So with that said, I hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you guys next Monday night at 5:30 on Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Take care.
Thank you for watching Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.